17-year-old Sarah Grace Patrick walks into the courtroom with a smile on her face, thinking she's about to walk right back out on bond, unaware that her own aunt's testimony will destroy everything. Her defense attorney is making his case. Her immediate family nods along from the gallery, and for a moment, it looks like she might actually pull this off. Then the prosecution stands and calls their first witness. Her aunt takes the stand, and that smile begins to fade. 2 people are dead, her stepfather James and her mother Kristen, both shot while they slept. But what Sarah did after their murders is what's going to make your stomach turn. She went on TikTok and started messaging true crime creators, asking them to cover her parents' case. She wanted influencers to make videos about the murders she was accused of committing. Called it super interesting. Her own parents. Most people scroll past without subscribing. But if this story matters to you, if you believe victims deserve a voice, hit that subscribe button, because what you're about to hear needs to be remembered. On February 20th, 2025, about 7:15 in the morning in Carrollton, Georgia, a 5-year-old Jay walks down the hallway toward her parents' bedroom, probably looking for her mom and dad to make her breakfast like any other Thursday morning. She pushes open the door and finds 45-year-old James Brock and 41-year-old Kristen Brock on the floor, both of them lifeless, blood spreading across the carpet. And that's when the child starts screaming. When Sarah hears her little half-sister's cries, she rushes into the room. She tries to calm Jay down, but the girl is hysterical. There's no calming her after what she just saw. Sarah picks up the phone and calls 911. Carrollton County Police arrive within minutes. Nearly half a dozen officers respond to the scene. They find the couple together in the bedroom, multiple gunshot wounds, blood everywhere. But then investigators notice something that doesn't add up. There's no sign of a struggle, no forced entry, no broken windows, no kicked-in doors. Just a middle-aged couple shot dead in their own bed. One door had been left slightly open. The house gets cordoned off immediately. Yellow tape goes up around the property, and crime scene technicians move in with their equipment. This looks like an inside job. Someone who knew the family, someone who knew their routines when they slept, where they slept. But investigators can't say that for certain. Not yet. The most pressing question right now is where the surviving children will go. Social services needs an answer fast. Caitlin O'Keefe steps forward and agrees to take the 2 girls into her care. She'd been friends with Sarah's biological father years ago, before he divorced Kristen. She's a familiar face, someone the girls are familiar with. Within days, Sarah settles back into a routine. She even returns to school. Teachers later report that she seemed calm, composed, almost too composed for someone who just lost both parents. But behind that calm face, Sarah is already setting something in motion, something the defense won't see coming. To understand what happened here, you need to know who this family really was. This was a blended household. Sarah and her brother came from Kristen's first marriage. 5-year-old Jay was James's daughter from a previous relationship. They all lived together under one roof, trying to make it work. James had serious health problems. His heart was failing, and doctors had surgically implanted an LVAD device into his chest, a left ventricular assist device. It's basically a mechanical pump that keeps a dying heart working when nothing else will. The device runs on batteries and has built-in alarms that go off when something goes wrong. Remember that detail. It becomes critical later. James nearly died back in 2021. Kristen posted on Facebook begging people to pray for him. He pulled through, and doctors told him the left ventricular assist device would keep him alive until they could find a heart transplant match. He was fighting to stay alive, fighting to see his kids grow up. Kristen and James had a rough history. Drugs destroyed Kristen's first marriage to Sarah's biological father back in 2018. Court documents from that time stated that Kristen had substance abuse issues and failed to provide a drug-free environment for her children. There was a custody battle. Eventually, they worked out joint legal custody, with Kristen getting primary physical custody and Sarah's father getting alternate weekends. But Kristen and James claimed they'd turned their lives around. They found religion, became committed members of Catalyst Church in Carrollton, about 45 miles west of Atlanta. They attended regularly, volunteered, and looked like devoted Christians who'd left their old problems in the past. From the outside, everything looked fine. But one neighbor later told local news that Kristen had confided in her about having trouble with Sarah. Behavioral issues. The girl was bucking against her mother's authority because she didn't want to be there. She wanted to live with her dad instead. On the surface, they were a family finding their way. But underneath, tension was building. Sarah was a huge true crime fan. She spent hours on TikTok watching videos about murder cases, cold cases, forensic investigations. She knew the genre inside and out, understood how these stories got told, how investigators worked, what evidence mattered. She'd consumed hundreds of hours of this content. But after her parents died, Sarah started doing something that would catch investigators' attention and become central to the prosecution's case. She began messaging true crime influencers on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Multiple creators, dozens of messages, all with the same goal. She wanted them to cover her parents' murders, the case she was accused of committing. One creator received this message from Sarah. "Hey, I was wondering if you would be able to cover my parents' murder case. It's super interesting, and I think your audience would love it." Super interesting. Those were her words, about her own parents, about the people who raised her, fed her, put a roof over her head. The creator was disturbed. This wasn't normal. This wasn't someone grieving their parents. This was someone treating their deaths like entertainment, like content to be consumed. The creator reported it to authorities immediately, sent screenshots, every message preserved, and every timestamp documented. Other creators came forward with similar messages. Sarah had been busy, systematically reaching out, trying to control how the story got told before anyone even knew she was a suspect. The defense would later claim Sarah was simply processing grief through familiar channels. True crime content had always interested her. This was just her way of coping. Prosecutors saw it differently. This was damage control. Someone managing their public image before charges were even filed. If you're feeling that pit in your stomach right now, you're not alone. Stories like this remind us how fragile trust can be. Most people will watch and move on. But if you're someone who stands with victims, someone who believes truth matters, that subscribe button is right there. Don't let this story fade. A few days after the murders, the church held a memorial service for James and Kristen. Friends filled the pews, family members spoke, voices breaking, tears streaming. Sarah was allowed to speak too. She stood at the pulpit and delivered a tribute to her mother and stepfather. Everyone else that day struggled to get through her words. No tears. Her voice stayed steady, controlled, rehearsed. Forensic analysis of the crime scene revealed critical details. Both victims had been shot at close range while they slept. Multiple gunshots. James and Kristen never had a chance to defend themselves, never saw it coming. No defensive wounds, no signs they woke up before it happened. The comforter was still mostly covering them, pillows in place, as if death came silently in the night. But what destroyed the defense was a contradiction in Sarah's own statement to police. Remember that LVAD device James had? The mechanical heart pump? Sarah told investigators she heard the device's alarm go off around 11:40 p.m. on February 19th, somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes before she went to sleep at midnight. These alarms are designed to be loud, to get attention when something goes wrong with a patient's condition. They start at a moderate volume and then escalate, getting louder and more urgent. Sarah heard this critical medical alarm, a device keeping her stepfather alive, and she didn't get up to check on him. Didn't go see if he was okay. Didn't alert her mother. Didn't call for help. She just went to sleep. But here's where it gets worse. Sarah claims she heard that loud medical alarm clearly enough to remember it, clearly enough to mention it specifically in her police statement. But she didn't hear gunshots. Multiple gunshots were fired inside the same house just down the hall. She heard an alarm, didn't hear gunfire. Let that sink in. July 1st, 2025, nearly 4 months after the murders. The Carrollton County Sheriff's Office submits an arrest warrant for 17-year-old Sarah Grace Patrick, 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault. On July 8th, Sarah turns herself in. Her biological father drives her to the station. She gets booked, fingerprinted, and photographed. Because of the severity of the charges, prosecutors announced she'll be charged as an adult. If convicted, she faces adult penalties. Adult prison, adult sentencing. Police had seized Sarah's phone, computer, and tablet within hours of the murders. Digital forensics experts went through everything. Search history, text messages, social media, deleted files. Modern forensics can recover almost anything. They found incriminating Google searches made weeks before the murders. How to dispose of a gun. Can police trace bullets? Evidence of planning. They found text messages to friends expressing hatred toward her parents. I wish they were dead. I can't wait until they're gone. They don't deserve to be parents. The murder weapon was never found at the scene. Police searched the house, the yard, nearby woods. Nothing. No family member owned a registered gun. County records showed no firearms registered to James or Kristen. So where did the gun come from? Sarah enters the courtroom that day thinking she's about to walk out on bond. She's smiling, confident. Her defense attorney starts calling character witnesses, and the testimony sounds good, really good. First up is Pastor Ben Bonner from Catalyst Church. He tells the judge Sarah has been committed to her faith for about a year now. She got baptized, attended services regularly, came during the week to ask questions and serve. She and her family would drive over an hour just to be with the church community. Even after her arrest, she's called from jail multiple times asking him to pray with her. Her father got baptized recently and still comes to services faithfully. Next comes Caitlin O'Keefe, the woman who took Sarah in after the murders. The attorney asks if she had any problems with Sarah while she was living in her home. O'Keefe says no, not even one. She's had teenagers before that gave her a hard time, but Sarah was a pleasure. Easy to have around, no red flags whatsoever. The defense is building momentum. Other witnesses echo the same thing. Good kid, helpful, respectful. Maybe the judge will actually grant bond. Maybe Sarah's going home today. Then the prosecution stands up and calls Kim Bowling to the stand. James's sister, the victim's family. Kim struggles to speak. Her voice breaks every few words, tears streaming down her face. This is real grief, the kind you can't fake. She tells the judge that her brother Jamie and his wife Kristen were taken in the most horrific way. She lies awake every night thinking about what they went through in those final moments, whether they were awake when Sarah entered their room with a gun, imagining their terror. And then there's 5-year-old Jay, who woke up and found her parents lifeless, the trauma that child will carry for the rest of her life. Kim begs the judge, "Don't let her out, please. For my brother, for Kristen, for Jay, for justice." Then James's son's statement gets read aloud by a family friend. "My name is Kristen Brock, and I am 12 years old. I miss my dad every day. What makes me more sad is I trusted Sarah and I loved her like a sister. Why would she do this to me?" Sarah's smile, gone, completely vanished. She stares down at the defense table, won't make eye contact with anyone. The judge listens to all the testimony and reaches his decision. Bond denied. Sarah will remain in Carrollton County Jail. No release. Full detention until trial. Sarah thought charm and family loyalty would save her. She managed her image carefully, on TikTok, at church, at school. She knew how to present herself, what to say, how to act. But the evidence didn't lie, and the victim's family didn't stay silent. The trial is still pending. Prosecutors say more evidence may come out, and additional arrests could be made in connection with these murders. Here's what this case teaches us. Appearances can deceive. Evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it looks like a 17-year-old girl standing at a church pulpit asking for prayers. This case isn't over, and neither is our commitment to covering stories that matter. If you believe in justice for James, Kristen, and that 5-year-old who'll carry this trauma forever, subscribe. Because the victims deserve more than silence. If this case shook you, you need to see what happened next. Click the video on your screen right now. It'll challenge everything you thought you knew about how far someone will go when they think they can get away with murder.